Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever and wherever you're getting this is the right time for you. All of these messages are intended to be timeless. I've just had to restart. In the pre-shuffle, I had the womb and the eternal child, and just now we got the number one card, the mother, popping out. Seems like there's something to do with birth, rebirth, parentage, or your childhood coming out. Let's see what this is. We've got 30, the one. That's quite intense to me right now. 33, master number 33, a nice card to follow the 30, the mountain. I'm gonna sneeze, I'm afraid. Oh boy. 23, the destroyer. This is interesting. And let's see, that's 44, another master number 44, the box. Interesting. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is someone who feels like, whether you're triggered by this comment or not, but there's something about being chosen for this. This is the calling, and a lot of people say they feel that they're one of the chosen ones. However that hits you, this may come up as part of your story or part of a situation here that maybe you've been chosen for something. It's been an uphill climb, but I see that you have made almost a home in a cave, like the cave dwellers from way ancient culture somewhere. I can't remember where, but they built homes in the sides of mountains, and it's reminding me of a time of hermitage, a time of uphill struggle to really solidify either the position or the work that goes into surpassing your limitations is really where I want to go with this, because the box and the destroyer reminds me of how we're brought in and we're socialized. We're presented with the third dimensional limitations such as gravity. That's a pretty big limitation, right? You can't fly. Well, as things progress, we overcome these limitations with innovation, whether that's on the physical plane, inventing something, or whether that is in surpassing limitations self-imposed or imposed by the parents or the early environment. Okay, so what's this? This is 45, 6, 7, 8, 48, the mirror. So we've got a moon there, it looks like, and this possibly a prism here or a shard of a moon. Very interesting. So I started on the previous recording attempt, I started talking about how today, this is a timeless reading, but today is the day of the new moon in Aquarius, approximately 20 degrees. And we've got then sun and moon in Aquarius, and then we've got Pluto coming in, still very slow moving on the 0 degree coming into the sign. And then right behind that, also in Aquarius, we've also got Mercury. Mercury moves pretty fast, so it's gaining ground, but I do believe we're hitting a retrograde here shortly. But right behind Pluto, in the sign of Capricorn, where all of these signs or all of these planets and elements have just moved through, we've got Venus and Mars, almost close enough to count a conjunction. They're a little more than 6 degrees apart, but Venus moves faster, so we're going to have Venus enclosing this space between Venus Mars, and that's a nice conjunction. It shows a unified force between our inner masculine feminine, our relationships, and partnership, being able to work together, a little bit more synergy. And so with all of the elements moving into Aquarius too, it's like having done the hard work, the mountain possibly representing Capricorn and how everything's just moved through there. There's this learning curve that's been introduced, where then Pluto, possibly the destroyer, sometimes can be like Shiva, the destroyer. Uh, and I can't help but notice the predator eyes. It looks like a wolf to me. Could be some type of other idea, but it's talking to me about how Pluto is really surpassing those previous limitations. And yesterday, patriarchy came up quite a bit. And today, even with the box, that third dimensional box and the prism here, which is then reflecting, the mirror is reflecting, the moon reflects the light of the sun. Unless you've got other beliefs, which is all right with me, but root chakra is on the bottom of the code card deck. Let's see what pops out for the code cards today, all right? First one, delight. Okay, we saw this a few days ago, 19, delight. 19 reminds me of the sun card. It's like the first blush of spring and flowers starting to pop up. I'm seeing daffodils in my mind's eye, but there's something else going on here too, where in my climate right now, we've got the return of the sun and an early fake spring here. Let's see what else. Authority, number 10. To me, that's a very Leo Emperor card, even though it's a number 10, which says the frequency of authority reminds us that true authority is powerful, directed, and realized, yet receptive, wise, and loving. So yes, possibly also destroying the ideas of how we're supposed to show up in the world, show up at our jobs and in our relationships, like questioning the roles that we have played and that others are asking us to play for them versus what our unrealistic expectations are for others and what our true righteous value system is and how those elements are being integrated and worked with. And we've got 35, perception. So the way that we see things supports our natural curiosity, moving us beyond our comfort zone to find the edges of what we perceive to be real and take a good, hard, deep look at it. So I'm seeing this as questioning, not only questioning the limits, questioning why you're doing the things that you're doing, why certain things are important to you, possibly in a relationship or in a job, and is this part of your value system? Is this something you've adapted or adopted from without, or whether possibly this is a fear response here? Whether you're hiding away from responsibility or from opportunities in your life, staying stuck in a box or in a cubicle for some of you. I know that that's a big theme, and it's like something wants to come forward. And I did pull out a couple of timing cards also. So it's like the perception of what we believe to be real. So we may also be talking about the whole, do you know the song, get a haircut, get a real job? It's like, well, if you were a grown up, you'd go out and you'd get a real job and you'd, pay into a pension and get your social security in the US, at least. I'm sure other social ideals come with other cultures where the idea is to follow in the footsteps of the predecessors who, let's face it, most of them were not super happy, at least since the Industrial Revolution, where everybody left their home and went into this mode of a comfort zone where you have somebody that will give you money. All you have to do is just go there every day and punch a clock, push a button, push a gazillion buttons and do whatever you might do, answer phones, do manual labor, flip some burgers, whatever you might be doing. Who are you doing it for at the end of the day, and is it worth it? I feel there is some song lyric in my head. Flip it and reverse it. Maybe you need to flip the script. Maybe it's time for you to be the boss, or for you to go back to school. there's something here where there's a reversal of perception when you move beyond the barriers of what's been keeping you uh, docile, like the caged bull or the enormous elephant that has been kept on a small lead rope since it was a baby and couldn't pull, and then further down the line it doesn't try to pull because it knows it can't get out. There's a way to step into your authority so that you can introduce more delight into your life. So, are you happy? $10 million question. Healing our concepts of what it is that we're supposed to be doing with our time, effort, energies, and our concepts of self and where we want to go from here. And dynamic. So I feel in this case, yes, dynamic can talk about the way we interact with other individuals. That's already come up here, but I'm today feeling that dynamic is about the ability to release the personality or the other facets of the personality, like as each of us has that inner treasure, that inner gemstone that's got the many faces, many roles, many interests, many hobbies, many values and ideals coming to the forefront, and choosing in the moment which combination of elements to bring forth may be altered by mood, environment, other individuals, inspiration, um, tiredness, self-care, all of that good stuff. But I'm seeing that with this idea of healing, and the birds are chirping outside. That's nice to hear. With this healing, there's a new expression that's coming out, maybe in small little, as they say, fits and starts, and then possibly more with certain groups or in certain situations. There's a recognition of what's emerging from you. The box is becoming this emanation. We saw that yesterday with the seed then becoming the self, expansive self. And on the bottom, soul time, I'm seeing this as the time in the cave here at the mountain. And then this progression happening, then it goes from this rest, repair, and healing moment of possibly retreat, destroying some kind of limitation, border, boundary, like a collar or a leash or a necktie, symbolically in my head, destroying and moving through the idea of scarcity. And then this light starts to shine from the center of the box. And the light is, as you see, it's present. It's gathering momentum before this one thing comes out into the personality. So taking the time to do that healing seems to be really important. So where are we going from here? Maybe we should get a little bit more on the board. This one's flipped. We got this the other day too. Square, semi-square, Kincux. It's a card of tension, collision. So there's a colliding belief or maybe an encounter at work. I'm seeing somebody at work having issue with the things that they have to do to support the life that they've chosen or become invested in this box, this comfort zone. And there's tension because there's a rising knowledge, there's an intensifying calling, there's a dynamic emergence of self that's coming to the forefront here. Venus, this beloved card, this came out with this card last time that they came out, and that was when Venus was in T square to each of the moon's nodes. And so this may be something that's coming up into in your relationships, whatever relationships you want to talk about, intimate, family, workplace, you choose. But some of the things that I was noticing in the astrology, we have right now, Uranus is transiting right on the degree, right around 19, 20 degrees, going direct now in Taurus. And come early April, that's going to be the solar eclipse, new moon solar eclipse degree. And so sun and moon will be together there. So from right now, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3. That's in a square to today's moon. So this square tension is also playing out between this new moon and Uranus, which wants to shake up our ideas so that we can have progress. So this is telling me that whatever is going on now that feels tense is going to be a few months process of either implementation, integration, strategizing, or working with something new, building something up in the background so that a nice smooth transition can happen perhaps. And it may be happening with our relationships. So there's a lot of stress in the environment right now. That Uranian aspect we're talking about right now is also, it's trying to asteroid Juno, which is, if you know your mythology, it's the wife of Zeus, Hera, and also wife of Jupiter, which is also backed up into Taurus. And I'm curious now how far it will make it before the eclipse. It will quite possibly be within range there. And with that trine, I'm seeing that we have a shakeup in the relationships and finding what it's going to take to make that commitment and to find that sacred loyalty and that sacred connection. The soul contract, soul time, soul contract. Yes, okay. Yes, somebody has gained extreme influence in our life in a relationship dynamic here, and there's tension in that where they're working out, you are working something out with being able to heal your ideas of, did this person mean this or do this? Is this intentional? Is this otherwise, right? There's all kinds of things that could be playing out. We've also got Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius. It's sextile to Pallas Athene, which came out with these last time. Get to this in a moment. And so that sextile is like with effort. So Pluto is the underworld that came out also recently that is challenging us to strategize. What is important to us? What is all of this healing worth? What is our life worth? To just get up and punch that clock, or to build something meaningful into our life, personal success, whatever that means, even if it's not on the material level, although money does make it quite easy to do our other moving and shaking, right? In the middle of Pallas and Pluto, we also have at 0 degrees of Capricorn, we've got Ceres, which is that nurturing mother. Ceres is the mother of the harvest. So what are we harvesting? You know, a lot of people will work years and years, a lifetime, in a, let's say, factory or in an institution where the raises are very incremental and they hook you in, and then people just don't move forward. And all of this time they could have been developing themselves in some type of a way, even if that's on your own time with just a personal hobby. Whatever brings you joy can unlock everything else for you. Perhaps don't question the simplicity of what gives you joy. Second house resources coming up. It's perhaps like, do you love your job? Do you love the people that you work with? And can you shift that dynamic into something else? Can you shift yourself into a position to have increasing resources, or putting more in your bank account some other way, putting more in your personal escrow, investing in yourself through self-care or otherwise? Um, yes, there's under the deck debilitated and discomfort. So debilitation is the 14 card, which reminds me of the temperance card and the need to rebalance. It's as though you're split personalities, like work and family stressors that are opposed, this mirror, this duality of what your values are versus how you're spending your time. Like addiction came up, that could be something, whatever is that temptation that that creates the discomfort zone, right? And debilitation in astrology is talking about when a planet is in a sign that it doesn't do well in. And uh, I'm not as proficient at all of that, but do your own research if you wish, and share it below if you want to chime in. Maybe you're an astrologer. But yeah, it's also talking to me about the ability to tap into maybe your personal placements. Maybe you've got your sun and moon placements, those main two thrusts of your persona that have built into your life that are at odds with each other. Maybe there's friction between your internal makeup. And instead of letting that become a threat or a weakness in your life, in your ability to create resources for yourself, perhaps be willing to, whether it's classes, whether it's just anything, look for ways to create opportunities with that. Like, for instance, I know many of you are noticing that I have an intentional, slower way that I'm trying to speak, and that my words come out weird, and it's a debilitation in my own personal chart. But I have found that debilitation in my chart came into my soul contract so that I would be forced to overcome that, so that I would be forced to be humble and to hone my tools and my craft and my messages, and to work on trying to be understood and to be tolerant and understanding of other shortcomings, so that I can be more intentional with my magic, so that I can have the process of healing myself and gaining authority. Because the initial perception is she doesn't perhaps know what she's talking about. She's maybe stutters or doesn't know her words. Maybe she's not as good at this. But just because someone, let's go with an easy example. Just because somebody doesn't have classical, beautiful looks doesn't mean we should disregard them. Just because somebody has, let's say, poor grammar or dyslexia. Let's go with dyslexia. People that don't spell correctly or use the wrong words in some type of a way. There can be a judgment that this person is less intelligent. Or somebody who, let's say, works in a factory versus somebody who's a lawyer or doctor. That person could potentially have a huge IQ, but is perhaps debilitated with application. Or maybe let's go on the high side and say, this person didn't want to spend 50 years stuck in institutions under the thumb of, let's say, easy one, the patriarchal ideals, and socialized in medicine and all of these things, and chose to go a route that created more freedom and movement and travel for this individual. I love this one with this resources card. We get resourcefulness, the horned cactus, which definitely reminds me of the Taurian influences here. So the perception of the resources that are at your disposal, maybe look into your south node, right now the collective South Node is in Libra, which talks about the way that we show up in relationships. Maybe you don't bring the grammar or the verbalization to the job or the relationship, but there's other ways that perhaps you can edit really well, or perhaps you can be a good sounding board, a good devil's advocate if somebody else is verbalizing or writing, or contract reader, or it can go a million different directions, right? But the horned cactus talks about, to me, the elements that we just talked about, Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus now, in the upcoming April new moon eclipse. We're moving into a time where we can leverage our skills as an asset to ourselves, to the collective. We are the ones we've been waiting for, I'm hearing, where if we destroy our ideas of what's wrong with us, maybe we can start identifying who we are, not who we aren't, from the outside looking in with that judgmental idea, but developing that inner core truth, the core light, and that Kali influence. Kali is perhaps that inner light that sometimes gets triggered, sometimes becomes aggressive, and is the divine destroyer of what no longer fits and what no longer suits. The prickly cactus is the ability to set up sacred space around the self, like, no, you can't come into my space, or no, you can't tell me what I will and will not do. I get the ultimate choice. And then I deal with the consequences of my actions, which is also in the astrology now. We've got Mercury is semi-sextile Saturn and in square to Jupiter. And so Jupiter, the urge to increase those resources here in our finances and our resourcefulness is challenged by our ability or unwillingness or inability to communicate effectively, thoroughly, from the heart. And with effort and with staying in our character and integrity, when we're triggered, we don't need to be childish and strike for blood. We can take a step back into ourself instead of extending into them. Well, you meant what my wound tells me you meant, or maybe their wound, or whatever. We can withdraw from that for a second and just say, where do I stand in this? What does this mean? And where's the opportunity for growth for myself? Perhaps I didn't understand that you felt that way. Whether we ask them to tell us more, or whether we say, thank you for showing yourself, and I'm going to show myself to the door. Whatever works out into your situation here, or, just stepping away from tension or an invitation to argue. We can change the dynamic sometimes by taking a 10 count breath. Let me take 5. Take a little break, walk around, get a fresh breath of air, come back to it. Mars is in sextile to Neptune also. So there's been some delusion, there's been some codependence overall in the collective. It influences us, other people as well. And so there's this urge to act towards our values, act towards and for our own inner dreams, our own inner passions, and expressing and developing that. Moving beyond fear or victimization or our wounded persona or even scarcity mentality, to then release all that, cleanse ourselves, clear, and re-emerge as that one we've been waiting for, to deliver us to our beauty, to our dynamic self, to that interesting and exciting individual that wants to come forward, but is perhaps still immersed in a little bit of healing that needs to be worked through. And I will tell you that this is ongoing, as we know. And so building this balanced space of healing and processing and release and cleansing into your routines, I say absolutely as much as you can monthly, yearly, but potentially daily or even several times a day for some of you that tend to have a lot more going on, a lot more stress, needs a lot more centering and alignment then, and grounding. Grounding, the root card came out first. The root of the issue is time in nature, breath work, and connection to the body through those basics: hydration, nutrition, movement, and rest. There we go. The moon, 37. And one more. I noticed yesterday we got sun and moon. Today we get the ancient ones. So I'm seeing this. Oh, many masks. The authentic self is emerging, right? Is that not what we've been talking about this entire time? I'm not going to talk a whole lot about the mask. I think that we've kind of talked around it quite a bit. The seer below it. Yes, seeing what's below the mask. Maybe that's part of your ability. A lot of people can have that street smarts where they can take the take a person at an instant and have that initial impulse and instinct, intuition be the most clear perception of what's at play. So at this time of the moon, I believe that what we're seeing here is the ancient ones, one, and the one, and the mother card is the number one that came out before. We've got a lot of ones that are trying to talk to us today. And 37 reduces to a 1. It's a 10. There's probably more. 9 and 1 is 10. 10 is authority. So a lot of 10s and 1s, that wheel energy coming full circle. I feel like there's a legacy working its way through, and we may be able to connect very in a new way with our ancestors and with this ancient knowledge. I wish I knew more about these cave dwellers that came out as an ancient civilization. Perhaps there's some type of ancient civilization that you identify with, and their sacred teachings can be extremely valuable to you, whether that comes out as Egyptian, Hermetics, Gnostics. I don't know whatever else is coming up. Some kind of sacred knowledge wants to come out for you. Yeah, stretching beyond the comfort zone. I don't want to take all those, do I? Friction is showing itself again since we had that before. And yes, we had sacred space came up before. Maybe I will. All right. Next to the sacred space, which looks like a phoenix, giving yourself time to go through your upgrades. Listen to the voices. And quickly, I was talking to somebody